Drake? What? Where's the door hole?
Hey guys, my name's DocJade. Do you hate touching grass? Well, boy oh boy, do I have the mod for you. Factorio 2 playthrough replaces the entire map with a level 3 factory building. If you aren't familiar with Factorio, it's a mod that lets you place buildings that are bigger on the inside. Since there aren't any ore patches inside of the building, we can use this combinator to pick where the resources come in on belts. Early game looks pretty normal besides that. Furnace spam and lots of iron. But it is quite dark. Let's turn on the lights. There we go. Now let's get some copper and then set up a smelting array. Although I forgot you need to research underground belts, so after a seamless transition, let's start researching them. If you couldn't tell, I like handcrafting. After placing some inserters, we've got basic iron and copper smelting. The starter burner mining drill is completely useless, so we'll put it in timeout. Logistics is done, now we can feed the furnaces automatically. Let's start saving up for one of those factory buildings. 500 stone, 500 iron, and 100 copper. Oh, we should probably research automation, that might be slightly important. I'll also stockpile some bricks for later. There's automation, and I'll make our first factory building. Let's tear down the smelting array and put it in the new building. I'll place it down, then move the ore input over to the left side. By the way, we can get more ore inputs by researching them, so you aren't stuck with one belt of each. I'll hook up the ores, then we can head inside.
It's bigger on the inside.
Is it? I noticed.
Anyways, with physics thrown out the metaphorical window, let's get started on new smelting arrays. First up is copper. Then iron. The little arrows on the outside of the buildings mark where you can put in and take out items. There we go, copper and iron. Next up, let's build a building to build green circuits in. With some splitters, I'll send iron and copper out of the top of the building so we can give the green circuits priority. There we go, let's get started on those. I'll go with a pretty standard green circuit design. I sometimes get complaints that I don't upgrade my buildings enough, so just to make them mad, I will be predominantly using level 1 assemblers for most of the builds. This is the final and only green circuit setup. I don't upgrade it for the rest of the game. Oops, out of power. And there's green circuits. Let's stockpile some stone and make another building for red science. I'll pass the copper and iron through green circuits, then we can get started. After I fix power production. Also, in case you didn't notice, all of the buildings have a substation in them that covers the entire inside, so you don't need to place any power poles. Okay, 2 gear assemblers should be enough for 20 red science assemblers. There we go, red science. And with another seamless cut, here's some labs. But it would be nice to have a dedicated lab building, so let's build that. Here's the basic layout. Having one building per science seems like a waste of space, so how about we put all of the science into the same building? Now I'll hook everything back up. And now we have a building inside of a building inside of a building making red science. Let's finish setting up the labs. I'll place the rest later. Let's get started on green science. I also researched extra coal, since I know we'll need it later. Let's plug in all the materials we'll need. First up is gears for the belts for the inserters, then the belts themselves. After a quick rotation, now the inserters. After stealing the 20 assembler signed from Red Science and swapping the recipes, we've got Green Science. Next, Science. Blue Science has a few prerequisites that we have to do first. Let's start on steel. Steel is pretty easy when you completely ignore the ratios. There we go. I want to label the buildings to make them easier to distinguish, so I'll research walls, optics, and then external display. There we go. Now I'll start putting icons on everything. Sweet. Hopefully this will make it easier for you to tell where I am. And that's all the lab's done. Let's continue working towards Blue Science. Next is electronics, then automation 2, engines, fluid handling, oil process. Hold on, let's increase power production again. Sulfur processing, then plastics. Let's take a detour from plastics to make steel furnaces for the smelting arrays, and since I don't feel like rebuilding the smelting arrays to take in more than half a belt, I'll research red belts. There we go, a full yellow belt of iron plates. Let's finally finish plastic, and then start on red circuits. Okay, let's get started on oil refining. There's red circuits. Next is blue science. Basic oil refining is basic to set up, but hopefully I'll be able to fit advanced oil in here later. Now we'll make the plastic and sulfur. Plastic is super easy, and sulfur wouldn't be too bad if I didn't put the pipes backwards. I was going to make 75 blue science by hand so I could research the advanced oil processing before finishing blue science production, but that was going to take forever. We need to make engines for blue science, so we'll need even more room inside of the building. We need to go deeper. Once you start getting several layers deep, belt routing starts feeling a little silly. Let's start making those engines. I'll use a slightly modified science setup. Back on the surface, now we need to make red circuits. Although we are going to need quite a bit of room, so I'll split production into 3 separate buildings. Steel axe for faster mining. And fast inserters for a few niche use cases. There we go, 1 building down, 2 to go. One more. There we go. Although we could use some more petroleum for plastic, we still need to finish blue science before we can make it better. I'll pipe the red circuits and sulfur into the science building, then we can finally start automating the science. It was kind of weird fitting it in here, but this'll do. And there's advanced oil processing. Let's try and fit a properly ratioed setup in here. The refineries themselves weren't too hard to fit, and the heavy oil cracking fits nicely in the gap. And there's light oil cracking. That wasn't as hard as I thought it would be. Oops, missing a pipe. If you have epilepsy, you might want to close your eyes until you hear the ding. Ding! Looks like we need more power production. Let's double it and reuse this joke. There we go. Okay, next up is purple science. Let's get started on modules. And then productivity modules. Now electric furnaces. And trains. Very useful. Now for the science itself. I'll also start researching everything for yellow science. Batteries, lubricant, electric engines, robotics. Speaking of robotics, I won't be using any robots at all in this run. It makes the challenge too easy. Next is blue circuits, and I'll put productivity modules in all the labs. Now for low density structure, which since it's so copper heavy, I'll upgrade the copper smelters now before I forget. Let's get started on purple science now. Since we need to make stone bricks for the electric furnaces, I'll make some bricks to make the electric furnaces to make bricks for the electric furnace production. But first, let's work on the productivity modules. Low density structure. And there's yellow science. With some more belt shenanigans, we've got red and green circuits for the modules. I'll continue to research prerequisites for the rocket while we work. Speed modules 1 and 2. There's Productivity 2, and the Productivity 1 modules are done. My brain was running on autopilot, so I started researching everything I needed for personal robots, but I never actually made any. I'll steal the blue science design for purple science. Oh, I forgot I also need to make rails. Let's put that in the same building as the modules. We are now 4 buildings deep. Rails aren't very difficult to make, but now we need to pull in a new belt of stone down all 4 layers. Fun. Oh, and steel too. You know what? Just for kicks and giggles, let's put furnaces down here too. Routing belts is a lot of fun with these space constraints. I love it. Now for the furnaces. Super easy. After we run the belts for them, purple science is plug and play. The more I look at this design, the worse it gets, but at least it's not made by Mad Cats. And there we go, purple science. Now we just gotta get it out of here somehow. Let's continue researching. Time for yellow science, but I don't really feel like cramming the yellow science building in here too, so let's shift the labs back for no reason, then place the yellow science over here. Let's also give low density structure its own building. We need to make flying robot frames, but I don't feel like re-automating engines, so we'll just steal them from blue science. We also need blue circuits, so it gets its own building as well. I slightly redesigned the iron smelting array to allow for a full red belt of output, but now we need to research a full red belt of input. Time for some sulfuric acid. Since we won't need much, I'll just use a single chemical plant. Okay, let's get to work on the blue circuits. Once again, I'll just steal and modify the science assembler layout. Although the liquid recipes do require level 2 assemblers, which stinks. And there's blue circuits. Now we can start working on low density structure. I'll steal the other lab setup for this one, but in reverse. I have a feeling that steel might become an issue. Regardless, low density structure is done. And finally, let's start working on flying robot frames. Oh, we need lube. There we go. I almost forgot about the batteries, and I'm feeling extra lazy, so chests it is. Now we just need green circuits and steel. And there we go, flying robot frames. Now we just need to plug everything into yellow science. There it is. Let's get this to the lab. There, just a few more researches, then we can make the rocket silo. In the meantime, let's give steel a little facelift. And more productivity for the labs. We're still low on steel, so I'll set up a second iron smelter so we can make some more. There we go, even more steel. And excess iron will be pumped back into the main line. There's productivity 3, next is speed module 3s. Purple science is quite slow due to a lack of red circuits for electric furnaces. And the red circuit shortage is due to a lack of green circuits, which is due to a priority splitter. Speed module 3s. Oh, I forgot about the rocket fuel. That's slightly important. Let's get to work on that. Flammables and rocket fuel later, we've got some minor production. While we wait for the rocket control units to finish researching, I'll make some productivity 3 modules for the rocket silo. And there's rocket control units. Now we can research the silo. Never mind, I forgot about concrete. I'm very forgetful today. I'll make enough bricks for the concrete by hand. There we go. Now we can actually research the silo. If we take a quick look at the production menu, we can see that we've already made enough extra red, green, blue, and purple science to research the rocket. So I'll disconnect their resources. Now we just need to wait for the yellow science. Blue circuits are abysmally slow, but I refuse to upgrade the green circuits. I can wait. While we wait, I'm also stockpiling the speed modules we'll need for the rocket control units. This is taking a while. Let's research more lab speed. Since we're starting to run out of science, let's consolidate the labs to eke out a bit more productivity. There's the silo. Now we just need to grab all the materials to build it. I'll also start making some rocket control units and add productivity to the blue circuits. And there we go. I'll put rocket control unit production right next to it. Need more. I'll just help out a bit over here. We've got a new problem, a lack of rocket fuel. I'll add some speed modules. Halfway there. Rocket fuel is still too slow, so I'll give it its own dedicated building. That should do the trick. More speed modules, just in case. Oh man. Need more rocket control units again. One more to go. We're done. And under 10 hours, too. I'd like to take a moment to thank my supporters on Ko-fi. Their contributions allow me to eat Taco Bell way too often. And that's all for today. My name's DocJade. Bye-bye.